All right, in this video, we're going to look at another piece of the puzzle, and that is elements and element settings. So we're going to kind of break that down a little bit. So we're just going to continue kind of working with this funnel that we previously created. And we're going to, so you can create all kinds of elements. We've already looked at those. If you add the elements, you've got paragraphs, bullet lists, video, images, pop-ups, all kinds of stuff. A lot of this, if you're used to CF Classic or other funnel builders, you've probably seen a lot of these elements, and that's because a lot of these elements are pretty much the same across the board from any funnel builder or even just HTML in general. Even if you went in to use front page or something, if anybody's still using that, the idea behind the elements and things that you can build into a web page are all the same. What ClickFunnels has done is just stuck it in this neat little drag and drop WYSIWYG editor so that you could just drag stuff in here, and makes it so much simpler for what you're trying to do in the long run, right? So let me get rid of these. What I want to show you guys is that each one of these has styling options, and we're going to look at some of the settings that you would see here. All right, we might go into another one here just for the sake of time and just show you an idea, but across the board, it's going to be fairly close to the same concepts, okay? So let's start at the top. The margin, most of these elements, you can move them up and down and just put a little bit of margin in there so it's closer or further away from whatever else. It's got a little bit of space in there, so we're just going to leave that one about where it is, negative. Well, we'll just leave it at 0. Just keep in mind that same concept applies to the row. Like here, you might have a little bit of padding in there on the top and bottom, so that can move. You can move that up there, and it's also going to be at the section level, so you can continue to take that padding out and moving stuff up. So if you're like, why can I get this in the right place? Make sure to check those rows and those section padding settings there, okay? So let's continue looking at these settings here in the headline element. I'm not going to mess too much around here with the padding, but you can add that in there. It defaults, it looks like 210, so I'm just going to leave it there. You also have left and right. We'll leave that one at 0, okay? Now, typography, if you want to remember, we set style guide earlier so that we could set different sizes. We got small, medium, large, and XL. So that's where you're going to see that, okay? So I'm just going to leave this one. It looks like it's fine at the medium. If you want to override any of the previous settings from that style guide, you can actually just come in here and start changing the fonts, start changing new things, okay? So you could change it to Montserrat or whatever it is that you want, or you can, let me go back into that. If you don't like the way that things worked out, you could say reset and stop overriding, and it'll just go back to that default there. If we want to make it purple, we can do that. We'll just keep it kind of a darker color there, but you can change that, and then you should have access to your colors and everything that was set as well in your style guide. If you click edit style, it should take you to your style guide. You can actually go in and start changing items up in here so that you have access to everything that you need, right? Look familiar? It should. If you haven't, make sure to go back and check on the themes and the styles so that you can go and change these as you wish. We should be seeing some pretty basic style guide colors in here, okay? So let's close this out, and what you're going to see should be the basic palette from the style guide right there. So there's custom, and then there's style guide, and then you can change this to whatever's in your style guide, okay? So that's pretty much it with that. Let's look at bold. You can come in here. If it's bold, you might want that to be a completely different color, okay? Let's come down here. You've got your text casing. If you want that to be different, you can change it to all lowercase, all uppercase, or you can change it to the first letter of each word being uppercase. You can decorate it, as they're calling it here, with strike throughs, underlines. You can align this in here. You can do all these settings right from the settings area. So this is also where you can turn on background. You can actually set a URL or a color for the background specifically of that element, just like this. It would look a little weird with a graphic background, but you can set an image in there if you want. So I'm actually going to take the transparency out on that one. So it's just transparent background looking over that white background, okay? Let's go back into those settings. Again, you can set your background settings there, a text shadow. You can set an icon in here, and then you can go in and change the color, the sizes, and you can also adjust the mobile size as well. Okay, that's something we have not covered. It will be right up front. It's going to be the same. They're going to be linked to each other, so you have to unlink them in order to change the mobile size. You might want that to be a different size. Okay, I think you guys are getting the idea of some of those settings in there. Let's look at the video settings real quick. And I do implore you, I'm not going to go through each one of the elements here. What I want to do is just give you an idea of what's there. I want you to go through and look at these elements, add elements, play around with them, see what they do, check the settings out, and see how they all work together to create your final product, right? And so you can check your image settings, you can check video settings, you can put a URL in here. You don't have to set where the video is coming from, but you can see here, as long as you have a YouTube link, a Vimeo link, a Voomly link, a Wistia link, HTML5 and custom embed code link here, you can just put it right in there and it will read it right out of the box. So if I go to YouTube and grab a video and paste your URL right in there, it says, oh, hey, look, that came from YouTube, and it pops up YouTube specific settings. You can now add in the video controls. You can set it to autoplay, turn on the lazy loading or not. We'll say no. Block pause, you can set that if you want to. Go through and just set all these different items that you need. You can also in here set that top margin so that it works, so that it's fitting right where you want it. If you want to put a border around this, you should be able to turn on the border. And you can set your border style per your style guide there. Looks like there's not too much difference in there, but I'll just choose number 3, where you can override and start playing around with those settings. Lots of cool things you can do. Definitely go through and start playing around with the different elements and the settings so that you can see how everything works together. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit more, a slightly more advanced concept in the next video, but let's call it good here. You now know how the sections, the rows, the elements, you know how everything works together and how everything's kind of coming together. But we're gonna get a little bit more in depth, a little bit more advanced here in the next section. Okay.